my school's library is open until around 2 in the morning. For the idiots like me, who don't do their essays until the last minute. It's a pretty small building, and most of the books are in the basement area called the stacks. Just to give you a quick layout, there's the big main stairs that go down to the stacks, a vending machine room, and the long hallway with 4 entrances into the stacks. The stacks are 2 really big rooms on opposite sides of the hallway, with a huge amount of bookshelves and study desks lining the walls. I was there around 11 p.m. last year. It was a pretty research-intensive essay. So I was down on the stacks working in one of the study desks, so I didn't have to keep going upstairs and downstairs again. I had been there for maybe 2 hours, and everyone except for a boy working a few desks down from me had left already. I was pretty zoned out by this point. It was an 8 a.m. class, so I didn't have much time until it was due, and I was sort of panicking, so it really pissed me off when I heard someone flipping through book pages really fast to make them do that loud whir noise at the other end of the room. I sort of ignored it for a while, thinking they'd go away eventually, but they just kept doing it. After about 5 minutes, I got sick of it and started to walk over to tell them to knock it off. I get about 3 steps across the room, and it just stopped. I sat back down, and it was quiet again for like 10 more minutes before the flipping pages noise started again, only loads louder, like they'd grabbed a huge book that time. The boy started to get pissed off too, and he stood up and started walking through the bookshelves, trying to find them. It keeps going, so I got up too and started looking around with him. It got really loud, and it was pretty obvious where it was coming from by that point, so we started walking towards it. He was on one side of the shelves, and I was on the other. We walked all the way down the shelves. No one there. We hadn't seen anyone come in the stacks, and we were on the side of the room with the entrances. No way could anyone have come in without us seeing them. The noise stopped again, and we both just sort of slowly walked back to our seats. I assumed it was just a fan or something in the other room, and I really needed to get my essay done. We sat down, and immediately the noise started again. It sounded like it was coming from right next to the guy's chair. He shoved his stuff in his bag, looked at me, said "fuck this," and took off. I was out of there, maybe 5 seconds behind him. I still won't go back in the stacks at night, even when there's other people down there. No essay's worth getting murdered by a weird book ghost. This past year in college, we had a ghost named Gideon living in our dorm, who has followed my roommate from place to place, or so he claims. He dubbed the ghost Gideon. He would hear his name, have his bed being shaken in the middle of the night, stuff like that. He wasn't the only one to experience it. As the school year went on, Gideon began to get comfortable with all of us, and activity began to become frequent. When alone, I've heard faucets running, so I looked about and found nobody to be in the dorm apartment. I've heard knocking on my door, and when I opened it, nobody would be there. I'd hear knocking on my door, quick little raps of about 3 to 5 knocks. Every time I'm alone in the dorm apartment with my bedroom door closed. Every once in a while, late in the night, I'll hear a loud slap on my door or on my wall. I have a metal water bottle I keep on my windowsill, and one night it sounded as though someone was just picking it up and setting it down softly, just enough so there would be a metallic clinking on the sill, which happened to be made of concrete or something. I heard a noise, as though something had fallen off of my desk. When I woke up, my chapstick was on the floor beside my bed, which had originally been standing up in the middle of my desk. I heard it drop to the floor the night before, but my windows were closed and my fan was off, so I don't know how it could have gotten there. Something handed my pillow to me. I woke up sometime in the night to find it wasn't on the bed, reached out groggily, and it was suddenly in my hand. Something had tried unlocking my roommate's door from the outside. He found little scratches from where the door meets the frame, and the catch on the door was scratched as well. I had a guest spending the night, and they saw some strange shadow moving on my ceiling. We tried to recreate the shadow, but couldn't. The shades were down, so there wasn't too much light coming in. My roommate was alone and saw somebody out of the corner of his eye walk past his room. It doesn't sound weird, but the figure was walking toward the wall. That's just windows, and there's nothing there other than a couch. When he left his room to see who it was, there was nobody there, and nobody could have gone anywhere, being that we were on the 5th floor. One afternoon, my other roommate, the one who brought Gideon with him, of course, saw a shadow figure walk into one of the bathrooms. One night, I experienced a loud knock on my door. I said, "Yeah." Got up and opened my door. There was, of course, nobody there. And at the same time as I opened my door, my roommate across from me opened his door, claiming somebody knocked on his door. He thought it was me. I thought it was him. We had our doors knocked on at the exact same time. I never felt Gideon was a bad presence, just kind of there and doing his thing. There was never anything bad that happened to any of us having him there, other than an eerie feeling being alone in the place, as though you weren't entirely alone. It was a cold, misty evening as a group of high school friends gathered at Crestwood High School for a late-night study session. The school was known for its eerie history, with rumors of a ghost haunting its halls. Despite the chilling stories, the group of friends decided to brave the empty school to prepare for their upcoming exams. As they entered the dimly lit building, the air felt heavy with an unexplainable sense of foreboding. Sarah, the group's self-proclaimed fearless leader, insisted they split up to cover more ground in their study quest. Unnerved but determined, they dispersed into different classrooms, leaving only the sound of their hushed whispers echoing through the hallways. Mark, a quiet and introspective member of the group, chose the science lab on the 3rd floor. As he delved into his books and notes, he began to hear strange noises coming from the hallway outside. The flickering lights added to the unsettling ambience, making Mark's nerves jump at every creak and groan. Meanwhile, Lisa, an overachiever with a penchant for the supernatural, found herself in the old library. The musty scent of ancient books filled the air. As she focused on her studies, she noticed the books on the shelves seemed to be shifting slightly, almost as if they had a life of their own. She dismissed it as fatigue playing tricks on her mind. A sudden gust of wind blew through the school, causing doors to slam shut and lights to flicker more intensely. Panic began to set in as the group realized they were no longer alone. Sarah called everyone back to the main hallway, hoping safety in numbers would calm their nerves. As they gathered, they heard footsteps echoing from the corridors. Cold sweat ran down their faces as they tried to rationalize the sounds. Maybe it was the wind, or perhaps a janitor working late. But deep down, they knew something was wrong. In a moment of sheer terror, the lights went out completely, plunging the school into darkness. The group clung to each other, barely able to see their own hands in front of their faces. It was then that a chilling voice echoed through the halls, sending shivers down their spines. "You should have left," the voice taunted, echoing from all directions. "Now, you're mine." The friends desperately searched for an exit, their hearts pounding in fear. They stumbled through the darkness, blindly trying to find their way out. But the building seemed to shift and twist, trapping them within its walls. As the night wore on, the ghostly presence grew stronger, revealing itself in flickering shadows and unsettling whispers. Each friend was tormented by their deepest fears and insecurities, making it clear that escaping would not be easy. The haunting at Crestwood High had begun, and the friends found themselves in a horrifying struggle for survival. Would they make it out of the school alive, or would they become permanent residents of its dark and twisted corridors? Only time would tell in this nightmarish high school horror story.